This is the scariest Easter Bunny story you will ever hear. But is it true? In 1949, a man in a bunny costume was commonly seen wandering the streets of Fairfax County, Virginia. This man would go outside and watch the children play every single day, and when they asked him who he was, he just said he was the Easter Bunny. He would watch these kids until they went inside their homes, so he could figure out where they live. At night, he would break into their houses and kidnap the children after hacking up their parents with an axe. The police finally connected the strange murders and the kidnappings to the bunny, but they could never find him. No one knew where he lived or who he was. The police decided to do a night patrol, and sure enough, they found the bunny walking towards the house with an axe. The police pulled their car over and heard the bunny singing, "Here comes the Easter Bunny, hacking up all the parents I can. Hippity-hoppity, bloodshed's on its way." The police yelled at him to freeze, but he didn't. They got out of the car and warned him to put the axe down or they would shoot. Part 2 coming. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, then I suggest you go check it out. Instead of stopping at gunpoint, he decided to charge the police while swinging the axe above his head, which forced police to shoot him. Their bullets ripped through his costume and he fell to the ground. The police tore off his mask and nobody was able to recognize him. Nobody knew who he was and he was never identified. The biggest problem was with this man dead, there was no way to find the children he kidnapped. One day 2 fishermen were down by a bridge when they heard children crying from a creepy shed. When they heard the children crying, one stayed by the shed to try to calm them down, and the other went to find help. The police arrived and they broke the humongous padlock securing the doors, and they let the children out free. When the shed was searched by police, not only did they find a bunch of weapons, but they found the Easter Bunny costume. It was concluded that this was the secret hideout of the Easter Bunny, and everything inside the shed was put into evidence and destroyed.
So supposedly, this is what the fallen angel Lucifer looks like. And this is what the moon looked like on March 31st, 2020. I don't know about any of you guys, but this is scary, especially with everything going on in the world right now. Pretty cool!
A man living alone in Japan became suspicious when the food in his fridge started to go missing and random things around his house were being moved. The man decided to set up security cameras and link it to his mobile phone, and sure enough, it caught a woman walking around his house. He contacted police when he thought he had caught a burglar, but it turns out he just caught his own roommate. When the police reached his home, it took them a while, but they finally found the woman hiding at the top of a built-in cupboard where she had been living for years. This room was very small and just had one thin futon lying on the ground with a couple plastic bottles. It was barely big enough for her to lie down in. Her name was Tatsuko Horikawa, and she claimed that she was homeless and had nowhere else to go. Apparently she did not steal any real money, but she was making good use of the toilet and the shower.
The picture behind me might look like a normal photo, but it's actually one of the most sinister, real-life haunted photos in history. Taken by a professional photographer in 1972 as guests arrived for a wedding, everything in this picture looks happy and normal. But if you take a closer look at the man standing in black, you'll see something odd. You can actually see somebody in white crouching behind the man. All 4 of the people in the picture said that there was no one behind them when it was taken. The photographer said the same thing, and that it would be impossible for someone to crouch behind them without him seeing them. This is a better picture where you can actually see the guy's legs, and then in the top you can see his eyes. The picture was even examined by police photographers, and they confirmed that it was genuine.
This is why you should always lock your doors. A class was playing a game of Kahoot when they heard a voice on the intercom say, "This is not a drill, go into lockdown." The students huddled in the back of the classroom and then the power went off. Minutes later, the students heard the sound of a man screaming at the top of his lungs, running down the hallway. The lunatic man started banging on the lockers and his screams gradually got louder. He then started banging on the classroom window, yelling, "Open up." He eventually left, and 10 minutes later, a voice on the intercom said, a mentally ill person had entered the school and attacked the lady at the front desk. The staff did a sweep of the school and still couldn't find him. So they locked the doors and resumed class. Later that night, one of the janitors went into the utility closet when this happened.
Top 3 photos before disaster. Number 3. Parkour. This photo shows Pavel Kashin performing a backflip on the wall's ledge. His friend took this photo mid-flight. Sadly, his stunt led to his death, as he lost his footing on the way down and fell to his demise. Number 2. Niagara crash. This here is Joseph Avery. When his boat crashed, he and 2 others fell out, and sadly, the other 2 were killed instantly. But somehow, Avery clung to a rock for nearly 18 hours while waiting for a rescue boat. Unfortunately, the moment he stepped onto the rescue boat for safety, that boat also capsized, then finally killing him. Number 1. Columbine. This is teacher William Sanders. He stayed to guide over hundreds of students to safety during the Columbine tragedy. He saved countless lives, but unfortunately lost his own when he was later shot in the chest twice during the Columbine massacre. The Slender Man Killers. A tall, pale man with no facial features yearns for death, but he himself does not kill. He calls upon the help of children to take the victims into the woods and take their lives. An urban legend to most, but a reality for Peyton. All 12 years old, her 2 best friends claim to be contacted by Slender Man and lured young Peyton out of her house at nighttime during a sleepover, said to be a casual walk. Once deep enough into the woods, they lunged at her. Young Peyton begged for mercy, clueless at why her friends had turned on her and attacked her. When all was said and done, they stabbed her 19 times, left Peyton there to die, and went home as nothing ever happened. Peyton was found on a nearby road, and in bad condition. She began recovering 6 days later, but worst of all, the 2 would-be murderers were not found guilty by the plea of mental disease. One event caused 2 young girls to end their happy life over an ominous dark figure.
But that's alright.